Hello, hello. Good afternoon, my friends. This is Amanda Marino, the owner of Next Level Wellness and Behavioral Health and the host of Levels Without Limits. We are live on all platforms and going live on Instagram. Here we are, Instagram. So I have the show every week when I'm not traveling, and I like to interview really awesome people that I meet or that I virtually meet. But the really cool thing about Manny and I is we live probably maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours from one another. Okay, I'm based in Palm Beach. You're born and raised down south, correct? Like Fort Lauderdale, Miami.
Yeah, born and
I'm
raised
from
in
Fort
Miami.
Lauderdale.
Yeah,
Manny is based now in Melbourne, and where did we meet? Dubai.
Dubai.
So I had to when I saw what he did because neurodiversity has really become such a talked about topic, and there's much more need for education on it. And so when I saw you from afar at the conference, and then I saw Melbourne, Florida, I was like, okay, I have to talk to him. This is comical that we're meeting in Dubai, but we
Yeah,
probably crossed paths along the way. So with that, I want to introduce you to my guest. Manny, could you please introduce yourself and share a little bit about yourself to our viewers?
absolutely. Well, hi, everybody. My name is Dr. Manny Rodriguez. As Amanda said, I live in Melbourne, Florida, and I work for a company called Puzzle Box Academy and Kaleidoscope Interventions. We are a specialty outfit of private schools and ABA service providers here in Melbourne, Florida, serving the great Brevard County, but also globally as we are educating educators in applied behavior analysis, neurodiversity, and education. So my background, 20 plus years in the field of applied behavior analysis, which is the science of human behavior. I've had a great honor to work in the field, both in the clinical side of the house, but also in the organizational side of the house, where I've been a management consultant for a number of years, working with Fortune 500 companies all over the world. So outside of my work life, I'm a father of five.
Oh,
From the
hi.
ages of, yep, so from the ages of 17 all the way down to my twins that are 4 years old.
Twin 4-year-olds. That's what you get last is the bonus, right?
That's
Like
right.
here,
That's
sounds
right.
like here, take a couple for your last run.
That's it. That's it. But they're a
That's
blessing.
awesome. I have,
Yeah,
I have two kids, and then I have four total with my household. But yeah, they're the best, but it's a
that's
lot.
it. It's
I
a
say it's the best thing I am in the world as a parent. I think that's my best job that I do the best, which is pretty cool.
That's it.
But yeah, I loved. Hold on, I'm sorry. I'm trying to fix my lighting. It's giving me problems.
No problem. No problem.
Technical issues this morning. So yeah, I mean, you're very well rounded. I do believe we've met, like maybe when you were in South Florida, because I've been in this space for about 15 plus years down here, based, but also working all over the world. And I love, that you're educating educators. I know that we've talked about you doing a training with our team,
Yeah.
just like an overall, because we do trainings, monthly or bi-monthly, just depends on what's going on. But it's just, I think that there were, I mean, I work with I have my favorite client, I wish he was watching, is neurodivergent. He's one of the most brilliant people I've ever spoken to, and I learn so much every time I speak to him.
Mhm.
And that when we taught, we had a couple different topics that we propose, because when I have a guest, I say put out 3 topics and we'll pick one together. And so we decided on what is neurodiversity and why it matters for everyone. And I think that encompass. I know you had some subtopics that I was like, let's get into some of those too, because I think that they're important. But I wanted to start, with our topic.
Yeah. Yeah. So we talked about, what is neurodiversity? What is that whole thing about?
Yes.
The reason it's such a good topic or an important topic is that, or, as well as I do, over the course of, say, the last 20 years, the whole notion of neurodiversity when it comes to understanding the brain, behavior, emotions, and all sorts of the alphabet soup of diagnoses.
Yeah.
It's really important just as a general awareness for the world to understand what is it, how is it different, why, where does it come from, and how do we work in collaboration with people that have neurodiversities? Because those individuals that are children today are going to be in the workforce tomorrow, right? So,
Yeah.
so what is neurodiversity? We like to say here at Kaleidoscope Interventions and Puzzle Box Academy, we like to say it just means that we're all kind of vibrating at different levels. We're all a little unique.
And we are. We truly are.
Yeah.
And
it's beyond personality. It's about understanding that when we say neurodiversity, it's really at the neuro level. So neuroscience, the brain, the neurons, the biochemistry of it all.
Yes.
We all are operating at different frequencies, different ways. So whether it's somebody that has, to use some kind of more common labels, so attention deficit disorder, hyperactivity disorder, autism, but even on the mental health side, depression, anxiety, all of these are just ways to describe in very quick ways an abundance of neurodiversities. And so why it's so important is that for children, it helps to understand what kind of accommodations or specific needs do they have that we need to support them as educators, as clinical therapists, all the way to adults, understanding that if somebody has depression or anxiety, that comes from a host of learning and a host of growth and possible trauma. So learning what that means and how to help them so that they could be successful, independent, high functioning adults, right? So,
and I love that. It's education and awareness are so important. And I love the work that you guys are doing, researching, educating, and that you have the school, you have so many different facets. And I hope that people that are watching today feel safe to ask questions. If you ask a question here, or if you want to reach out to Dr. Rodriguez afterwards, I will put all his information in the chat. But this is a safe space. If you have any questions of anything that we're talking about, questions for somebody in your life, please feel free. This is a safe space. We welcome the questions. We welcome the, the conversation with people that are watching.
I love that because I also think that when it comes to awareness of what is neurodiversity and what it all entails, something I think I learned along the way is it's got to be judgment free, right? So if you are truly on this path to understanding that neurodiversity exists and that it's important to understand what it means and how to support people with neurodiversities, it means you have to be judgment free.
And I believe the same thing with all kind of, for me, in the work we do, all mental health and all substance use disorder. It's health. There isn't health and mental health. This is all one. And what you're adding to that is exactly like the language I speak. And every person's unique and different. I'm going to just guess that no two people that come to you are the same and have the same needs or require the same kind of special things. And that's why it's so great, the work that you're doing is everyone is different. Cookie cutter treatment stuff or plans for individuals aren't helpful these days.
Yeah, exactly. I think you hit the nail on the head. To put a little science spin to it, in the field of applied behavior analysis, we talk about functions of behavior. And there's 4 general functions of behavior. There's a couple of other unique ones, but there are 4 general ones. That's attention seeking. So we do something to get attention from others. We are looking to get access to something, right? So I want something tangible or something in my possession that I want. You are looking to escape something you don't want, right? So escape, avoidance, maintain behavior. And then there's automatic sensory level reinforcement. And so the same behavior that can come to our doors, like aggression, property destruction, elopement, tantrums, whatever, the kiddo that we work with, or the adults, whatever the behavior is, the same behavior doesn't necessarily have the same function between two people. One person may do it for attention, the other one may do it for escape. So really understanding the function of behavior really helps people adapt and evolve in terms of what treatment would be the most impactful. What support can we offer that individual?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's definitely the scientific breakdown and much more explained to to everyone who's watching. So we do have a question. What
Sure.
does DBA stand for, Manny?
Oh, sure. So it is a doctorate of business administration. So one may say, you're here talking about neurodiversity, but you have a doctorate in business. So a little quick background of that is, so my history of my career was in organizational behavior management, which is essentially behavioral science applied in business. And so for many years, near my whole career, 20 plus years, that's what I delved into. And then how it all came to be in the clinical side is I've been working in the operations side of the clinical side of the businesses that I've worked for. So here at Puzzle Box Academy and Kaleidoscope, I'm part of the executive team, and I work on the operation management of our clinical business. So the doctorate of business actually came to fruition many years ago now, going on 6 years now that I graduated with my doctorate. And I took a 14-year hiatus from my master's degree to my doctorate. And the reason I pursued it at the time was I simply wanted to dive a little deeper into research in the world of business. And so I had a great lesson in my doctoral work at the University of South Florida over there in Tampa, Florida.
I really need to connect you with my co-founder, who is my former business partner. He is in his doctorate program for organizational leadership.
Okay.
Like, if you're watching, I'm going to connect you to. He left this work because he was really called to do that, and I think he's in his last year of his doctorate program.
Well, way to go! Keep it up.
Connect with him. He's still one of my best friends and my brother forever. So that's fantastic. So now we know. So while we're asking, what does BCBA mean?
All right. So the BCBA is a board certified behavior analyst. So there is a governing body called the Behavior Analysis Certification Board. It's been around for, I want to say, close to 30 years. And so prior to my whole career move into this field as a young 20-something-year-old. But it is a governing body that's based out of Colorado. And it used to be worldwide. Now it's nationwide, United States primarily. And it essentially serves as the governing body for people that want to do this profession called behavior analysis. But it's a certification that you could receive if you have a master's degree in psychology or education, or more specifically by behavior analysis. And it comes with a great deal of a code of ethics, a way of doing business, professional conduct. And it's been I've been a proud member as a board certified behavior analyst now, second time in my career, but a total of 20 plus years.
That's really interesting. That sounds like the research part. So as I grow in this field, like, I am not a clinician, but I have a team psychologist, Dr. Jeffrey Hutman, on-call psychiatrist, Dr. Aldo Morales, and I partner with lots of clinicians all over. And I always do operate through the lens of what I implement the clinical recommendations. That's kind of my job.
Okay.
There's certain things that I keep getting called to, so that's something that sounds really interesting to me. And the more I dig into this work, the research becomes more compelling to want to learn about, because, how long did it take for certain things? Like, by time it goes from research to in as an actual thing in say the DSM, it takes really a long time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we're talking about neurodiversity. One of the things that's pretty exciting for me these days is we have a number of studies going on right now where we are looking at the integration between good applied behavior analysis techniques to neuroscience techniques to de-escalate, self-manage, and de-escalate for self-regulation using what's called heart coherence. So heart coherence in general is the mind, the body, and behavior all in alignment, so that when things are hitting the fan, when we are at our most stressful times, or more to say specifically, extreme times, how do we self-regulate? How do we get to that point of coherence so we can tackle those problems in a more coherent state? And we are tackling this study over the next few months with not just our executive staff, but with our clinicians and also our children that we work with in our clinics and schools.
I love that.
And this body of research, just like behavior analysis, has tackled a number of different neurotypes, from anxiety disorder, depression, ADHD, autism, all of the, you know, the uniqueness, unique characteristics.
Whatever people have going on, we all have things going on.
Yeah, and so I'm really excited about, you know, the studies we're doing and working on, because it's a way for us to give back to the community at large, the whole world, to help them understand, like, what does it mean, what does it look like, and how do we help these people. And then, you know, we talked about organizational behaviors. So my other path is taking the same research and the same work and bringing it to the workforce, right? So bringing it into corporate America, corporate worlds all over the world, to say, hey, this is how you could support somebody with some neurodiversities in your workplace.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for the work you're doing. If no one's told you that, thank you. Can you tell me a little bit about your founder before I do want to dig. I know we have a time crunch, but I just would love to. I didn't meet her yet, but I definitely am interested a brief about your founder, and then let's dig into like the meat and potatoes.
So the founder and CEO of our company is Miss Pamela Furr. So Miss Pam, as we call her, 12 years doing this work, puts her heart, soul, blood, sweat, and tears into this work, just with the same goal that she started, is the same goal she has today, to help families all over. She has taken that as she was a mom on a mission. Her son was diagnosed with autism at the age of 3 or 4. He's now 21 years old. And there was a time where when he was a young lad, that he was told he couldn't talk, he wouldn't be able to be successful in school. Now he's got his AA degree in psychology. He works for the company. He manages our marketing and social media efforts. So he's also on our podcast. If you ever want to watch him, he's on our podcast. But yeah, Miss Pam is a mom on a mission, an entrepreneur, very successful, and currently her main premise in life right now is not just managing her various businesses, but she's also doing life coaching. She's doing heart coherence coaching, and she's doing that on a personal level, but also as an entrepreneur, has her own successful business as well. So that's Miss Pam.
Not like me, but just a little different. I think we would really vibe.
I think you would vibe very well.
I also would love to connect her with my friend Candy. She is the head of an organization for autism, and she has twins that are on the spectrum. Oh, and they're now young adults, and she is like, just, I mean, I think that I really want it. So I have a few, remind me, I have connections to make after this.
Okay, sounds good.
What would you like? What is it? And why does it matter for everyone? And then there was some kind of specific topics that you had, like I said, aligned with it. And I'd love for you to touch on those too, because I know that those are important to you.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, one of the things that I hope, the audience here listens about is neurodiversity is every day, right? So we have people all around us that you may or may not even know it, but they're just vibrating at a different rate. They're looking at things differently than maybe you are. They're processing things a little differently. So again, when it comes to neurodiversity, judgment free first, right? So, and then awareness. So I like, when we work with organizations or we work with families, the assessment part of what we do is always the same. Tell us a little bit about how they process things, how they look at the world, and what makes them vibe. What's their reinforcement history? What do they love? What's their passion? Because, whether it's a kid that loves video games or art, or an adult that likes to work independently versus in teams, knowing those kind of nuances about what motivates them, what drives them, what really helps them, can really be the difference between acceptance, reinforcement, love, gratitude, versus isolation, exclusion, all the, negative things we don't want in this world. And so to me, that's the main importance of neurodiversity, is really understanding that people are all different. We're all different, no matter what age or race or gender or whatever. When it comes to understanding the brain and how it interacts with behavior,
yes,
that can open up the door to lots of possibilities.
Yes. Do you see, are you able to see this? It says, great story. I love hearing this. In my case management days, I worked with many individuals with autism. It was great to see their successes.
Yeah. Absolutely. And for people that are not familiar with, autism, I think autism has definitely grown over the years, probably close to the last 25, 30 years. We now have a much better awareness, a much better appreciation of what is autism, the fact that it is a spectrum disorder, right? There is, mild autism, severe autism, and things like that. And we work with all of the above. And one of the best benefits of working with this population, I think no different than anyone with any kind of neurodiversity, is watching their successes,
Yeah.
watching when that light bulb hits, or when they get a skill and they master a skill, something that they were working really hard on, and
Yeah.
they do it well, and they're doing great, right? So I think that's fundamentally why we do what we do, right? Is to help these individuals, no matter what the neurodiversity is. But definitely with autism, it's a special place.
Yeah, that they can like live their best life and shine with whatever is going on. I'm going to ask probably a commonly asked question, but it's just something that I've not ever asked someone. What do you think the reason or reasons for the rise of the rate? Like it wasn't such a thing. Like I'm 44. Yeah. We didn't hear about this in my childhood as much as it is today. So what do you think are some of the elements that make it? Is there more awareness? Is there more education? Are more people talking about it? Less people hiding? Like, what do you? Or is there something that you believe?
Great question, and all of the above, right? So, from the medical side of it, definitely more awareness from a medical standpoint, and also early on detection has been a big factor of it. So whether it's neuro testing, whether it's psychological testing, or emotional behavioral testing, there's definitely been an influx of understanding and awareness in the medical side of the house. So pediatricians to neuropsychologists, neurosurgeons, they know what to look for at a biological side, but also on an emotional behavioral side.
Absolutely.
So that's definitely one. And then on the education industry, so the academics of the road, right, from elementary school all the way to academia and university side, again, more awareness of what they're looking at and what they're looking for. And I really think that that's pretty critical, because the more that people are aware, the more that they can look for ways to support these individuals. I think we probably saw the same thing 50 to 60 years ago when it came to depression. It wasn't a novel thing, but it definitely grew in terms of like whenever there was a financial collapse or whenever the job market tanked or something like that, we saw more and more instances of or counts of depression. And so knowing what that looks like and how to treat it is a, awareness does a big number. And the last bit, I think, is besides early detection is what's called early intervention. So in the field of behavior analysis, occupational therapy, speech therapy, what we have seen over the last 20 plus years is an increase in the number of those kind of providers providing services with younger children, right? So they call it early intervention for a reason. So 2-year-old, the 3-year-old, some people think it's kind of strange that a 2-year-old, 3-year-old might get diagnosed with autism or ADHD.
Can they truly be diagnosed that young? Just a question, because I know there's a lot of things they say you can have like tendencies or things like that, but you can't truly diagnose certain things till a certain age. So
no, definitely there is behavioral, emotional traits, but also biological and neurological traits that they can detect early on. And I've seen it as young as 2 years old, 2.5 years old being diagnosed. Okay. And so, but with that, you kind of take it for what it is, because you start at that age. If they get diagnosed at that age, there's probably a good reason for it. But then you want that diagnosis to be reevaluated every 3 or so years.
3 years, you said?
Every about 3 to 6 years.
Okay.
We'll see more evaluations.
So I hear a lot of chatter, okay? Things in our food, vaccines, like, are any of those things true?
Yeah. So, all right. So if we were to take
I'm throwing it out there.
That's good. That's a good question. So we talk about this in our podcast a lot. So when it comes to vaccines, right? So I am not pro or against, right? I'm pretty neutral. All my children have been vaccinated primarily because it's kind of dictated by schools and things like that, but by our society. But needless to say, the data doesn't lie. There has been an increased number based on the data in the medical science arena that show, vaccinations have had some sort of influence in terms of autism, but they've also shown studies that debunk that. So you got to look out for, what the science is. But on the food side, there's definitely something to be said about what goes in your gut affects your brain. So processed
that
food,
brain connection is massive.
yeah, so there is lots of good science out there that shows that connection between what goes in the gut can affect the brain. And sure enough, the brain development, especially when the kids are very young.
Yes.
So high processed food, high fatty foods, things like that, things with zinc and other things. Sure, there have been studies that have said, there's some sort of connection correlation, but
more predominant in America because we allow a lot of things in our food that so many countries don't. Like when I go to Europe, like I eat bread and I feel fantastic.
Yeah,
like,
so there's
I was like living off croissants and Nutella and I felt amazing. If I eat that stuff here, I feel like garbage.
Yes, there's definitely something to be said about the food in the United States being heavily processed. There's also like the stuff that goes into food. And so if you go to Europe, now here's kind of the interesting part, I think. So if you go to like places like in Europe or Middle East, they don't have the vast numbers of cases of autism, for example. However, they're also not they're not where the United States is in terms of early on detection. They're getting there, but they're about where we were 10 years ago.
And like from stigma, like this isn't something that's a bad thing. This isn't something that, like there is with all mental health or with anything. Right. There's still a stigma. And I do believe that the other countries like that, one that we were in and other ones, they're not to the level we are as with conversational and openness.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, we're here to talk about what is neurodiversity, but again, it's all about just understanding people just vibrate a little bit differently, and that's okay. And it's just understanding, what is their vibration, and here's my vibration, and they're a little bit this way, and I'm a little bit this way. So how do we gel? How do we make it work? I like to make the correlation with my own kids about in the workplace when you work in teams, right? Mm-hmm. You may not gel with your teammates right away. Right. So you have to learn how people operate in a team and how to work together. So this team member may like writing everything down and may want due dates and timelines and things like that. Yes. Versus this other teammate kind of want to go with the flow and be a little bit more adaptable and flexible.
That's me. And I always partner myself with the opposite.
Yeah, right. So,
I do have a couple of questions.
Can I bring them
real quick? Okay. So I loved hearing more about your work, Dr. Rodriguez. What is one simple change you wish more schools and workplaces would make to better support neurodiverse individuals and truly leverage their strengths, not just accommodate them?
That's a great question. Let's
Dr. David Macklin.
Thank you, Dr. David Macklin. Great question. So I'll tackle this kind of the first one with schools, and then we'll go to workplaces. So when it comes to schools, I think in particular, public schools are pretty much set in their ways and they've been operating the same way since the early days, the 20s, the 30s, come in, sit down, do work, come in, sit down, do work, transition to next class, come in, sit down, do work. And for individuals that do have neurodiversities, this is why there exists what's called individual education plans to provide accommodations. Yeah. So a simple one that IEP. So an IEP, an individualized education plan. So to give you a great example of what I'm referring to, what schools can do, one simple change they could do is to attend to the needs of the neurodiverse. So what is it that they need to be successful? So one simple example is most of our kiddos in our private schools don't like to sit down for very long. They will do the work standing up at their desk or maybe sitting with a small group of friends or something like that. They may even do more work in smaller chunks of time. So we allow that in our private schools, but public schools struggle with that because they have kind of a set regimen. So that's one simple change I wish more schools would just do is not just look to accommodate, but attend to what you are aware of is their need to be more successful.
Yes, like it says here, leveraging their strengths, not just.
Yeah, that's right. So their strengths may be that they will do more in smaller groups or more with less work, and they would do great. With the workplace, I think when it comes to neurodiversity, I think it's really important for workplaces to do one thing in particular, which is to really make sure that they have opportunities at all levels of an organization for individuals with neurodiversity. And what I mean by that is, so let's say somebody is highly independent, works very independent, but doesn't like working in teams. Well, if an organization doesn't have a job opportunity for that individual, we have now shut down a great deal of opportunity, right? So another one could be somebody that really likes working with their hands and not so much working on a computer. So what positions do they have available? So I think those are things that organizations have done very well over the last few years, but there's room for improvement.
So finding the areas where they can excel at their strengths is kind of what I'm hearing for both.
Yeah, definitely.
Here is a comment from Maureen, who happens to be my mother. She's a psychiatric nurse. She says she worked with autistic children while getting her bachelor's in psych back in the 70s.
Yes, and I totally can understand. Applied behavior analysis as a field of study, one of the reasons I decided to go into that field is the early onset of the whole field started in the 60s, 50s and 60s, and they were working in psychiatric hospitals, and they were working with people with all sorts of neurodiversity. So super cool.
Yes. My mom has her bachelor's in psych, and then she is an RN, and then she worked in admissions in psychiatric hospitals, and she also does some work for me now on the side. Hi, mommy. And so this is from a clinician who is a friend, a mentor of mine. Great conversation, Amanda. Question for Dr. Rodriguez. How can parents and caregivers reframe the way they talk about neurodiversity at the home so their children see that their differences as strengths, not problems that need to be fixed?
I love this question. Thank you, Tricia, for asking.
Questions we're getting.
Yeah, it's a great question. So I am going to answer it the same way I would expect me to do this at my own home and how I've done it with my own kids. So to kind of put in perspective, I have a 17-year-old daughter, senior in high school. I have a 13-year-old daughter about to start high school next school year, an 11-year-old about to turn 12, getting ready to jump to junior high, and then the twins are 4, and they're in that early VPK stage. And one of the things that the older kids have really given me perspective on is they recognize children with neurodiversities in their classrooms, right? And they all 3 go to public schools, 2 go to charter school, but it's a public school. And one of the things that they've shared with me along the way as they were growing up was the kids that are just a little bit different, not in any bad way, just a little bit different. So I would ask them the questions and I would engage them in a conversation about, tell me how Johnny or Sally are a little bit different. What does that look like? And have the kids explain it and then say, okay, but that's okay, right? They're just vibrating a little bit a different way. What about you? Do you operate in any different ways than your friends? And I always turn the conversation around because my kids, they have their own little intricacies of things. And so they love to talk to me about their strengths as opposed to, Johnny needs to just stop talking so loudly. He just kind of interrupts the class and he talks loudly. That's not something to fix. That's something to understand. And so these are the kind of conversations I've had with my children. And that's how I would tell parents and caregivers to do it. Just reframe it in terms of not a problem to fix, as Tricia said, but talk to me about what do you see and what makes them a little different, and then talk about it as that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that. And so Tricia does have a book that just came out recently. I was at her very first book launching event called Rescued. It's a book on trauma. So just
I'm gonna take a look.
She's someone who continues to push herself, and we kind of like motivate each other, which is a great thing.
Cool.
So what were the other 2 possible topics? Just, I want to give you a moment. Do you have a hard stop? Because I know you have to go.
Unfortunately, and I'm sorry to say to the audience, I do have a bit of a hard stop. We could do maybe one more.
However you would like to wrap this up, I'm going to leave it in your hands and just be mindful of your time.
Sure. I don't remember. Yeah.
We can always do a part 2. I do that often with people. We can do a part 2 and maybe have your founder join.
That'd be great.
So, however you want to wrap this up, tell us a little bit about the schools, how people can reach you, and whatever you want to do.
Yeah, so let's definitely do a part 2. I would love to do that with Miss Pam. I think she would love it. Let me do a little bit of a wrap up too. So I represent Puzzle Box Academy and Kaleidoscope Interventions. We also have a couple of other unique companies as well. I'll share in a second, but Puzzle Box Academy, we're here in Melbourne, Florida, and Brevard County. If you are ever interested in taking a tour, we're open to the public. We love sharing what we do and how we do it. Kaleidoscope Interventions is an ABA service provider for a lot of the kids in Puzzle Box Academy, but also open to the public as well.
Is that one called Kaleidoscope?
Kaleidoscope Interventions, yeah.
Okay. You want to go back in after and put some of your links. This stays active, even though we're not going to go off live.
I could do that.
Okay.
So what I like people to understand is, even if you're not in our local area, we are dedicated to public awareness and community awareness. So we have a podcast called the Purple Couch Podcast. So I'll put that link up there as well. That's on YouTube and social media, the whole bit. And we love, we have, I don't know, probably 100 episodes or something like that. We've been doing it now for about a year or two. And we talk about all these topics: neurodiversity, education, autism, ABA, the whole bit. Love it. One of the main things we focus on, because we're a group of parents as well. So we all have children. Most of us have children, and we work with children all the way from 3 years old all the way to 23.
Oh, I love that.
And one of the things that we like to reflect on these podcasts and in our work is giving back to parents, saying, what can parents do in this situation? So kind of give you a little kind of teaser. Tomorrow, I'm actually presenting, and I'll tell you what the title is, but it's one of our monthly parent trainings. And we do these monthly parent trainings free of charge to the community. We also film them and we put them online. But the title that I came up with, because it's near and dear to my heart with the 4-year-olds, it's called Managing Transitions Without Tears, Achieving Smoother Evenings and Everything in Between. And my intention of this presentation for parents is to give them tools and tips and techniques to kind of manage through that, because I wish I could say I'm 100% foolproof without tears of transitions, but that'd be a lie. But we do our best, right? So the whole intention is, what are some cool techniques? What are some key tips and tricks and that you can use for any child, whether it's a 3-year-old or an adult, right? Yeah. We all have to be right. So that would be pretty much my wrap up. Is we're here, we're open to the community, we're always accessible. We love to talk about what we do and how we do it, and we love to learn from others as well. So people can reach out to me at any time, whether it's through LinkedIn or social media or whatever. And I would love to interact with people that are interested in what we do.
Absolutely. So I would just ask that after your end of your day or your meetings back to back, that you just pop back on LinkedIn and just add some ways that people can reach out to you besides here. Like it'll be live. So thank you, Manny, Dr. Rodriguez, Puzzle Box Academy, the Purple Couch Podcast, Kaleidoscope. Thank you so much for taking time and energy for joining us here today on Levels Without Limits. We believe there are no limits to anything, and that anything is possible. Healing is possible for anyone. And I love having brilliant people like yourself on and get to educate people and put out quality content. So thank you so much for coming all the way from Dubai back to Melbourne, Florida, and me in Palm Beach, Florida. And here we are.
All right. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you so much. You can find me at Next Level Wellness, Behavioral Health, Amanda Marina Official on all platforms. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day.
Bye, everyone.